Hi, everybody. Meteorologist Joe Chaffee as we take a look at the new model guidance that's come in, and we're going to take you through all the models tonight, and we'll see what it does with this storm in the Northeast. Now, I've already jumped to tomorrow evening because at this point the front is already through, and it's right there, and we begin to get the development with the surface wave, and you can see that low is right over in the panhandle of Virginia, and it's getting ready to move east northeastward off the Maryland coast. Now, this is the GFS. This is at 1 in the morning, where it already has some rain into New Jersey, some snow in the northwestern part of the state, and some snow in the Hudson Valley by 1 a.m. It's moving right along. There's nothing really to stop it. There's no blocking in the atmosphere, so or even a little bit of a weak North Atlantic oscillation. So everything wants to just move along from west to east. That's probably kind of good in this instance because of what we're dealing with. The low by Thursday morning is sitting east of the Maryland coast on the GFS. You can see the darker blues. That's heavy snow, probably on the order of 2 inches or more an hour, occurring in southeastern Pennsylvania, much of New Jersey, into the Hudson Valley, western Connecticut, and then covering Long Island. And between 7 a.m. and 1 a.m., the low shoots out southeast of Nantucket. The heavier snows are beginning to pull out. The back edge of the snow, the measurable snow, is probably already into central New Jersey. This is the actual measured precip that it produces, and then moves away to the northeast. Now, the NAM, in terms of snowfall, and we'll show you the 24-hour snowfall, it's fairly consistent with its amounts. And when you run the totals through, it has, basically a 6+ band from the central New Jersey on northward, and it's producing some 1 foot plus amounts in northwest New Jersey, probably because of the fact that the snow starts there earlier, into the Hudson Valley and into westernmost Connecticut. 6 to 10, I would guess, across most of Long Island. Long Island's kind of tricky in these things. I've experienced a number of times in situations like this where the model gives it less and it winds up getting more. So I'm going to bear that in mind. I think I've taken a fairly uniform approach in terms of what my snowfall forecast is going to be. So that takes care of the GFS. We're going to jump over to the NAM model. And I know a few of the watchers were a little, upset about the NAM. In reality, the NAM has a surface low, takes it just a shade further to the north on this run for some reason, and then it kind of jets it out straight east to southeast of Cape Cod. But it really wasn't that much different. And in fact, when I looked at the numerical data, it actually gave a little bit more precipitation on the order of about 3/4 of an inch in southeastern Pennsylvania and out over toward New York City and for Long Island. So I really didn't see too big a difference in its overall performance. And with the NAM, you get snow amounts. We'll put the NAM snow amounts here, and the NAM kind of gave a little bit less, but it's got sort of general area of say 7 to 9 inches, covering eastern Pennsylvania, the northern half of New Jersey, say north of 195. Long Island, it kind of got a little blotchy there, but in Connecticut too. So it maybe it gave a little bit less in terms of the snowfall. Now, the one model that has my interest peaked is the Rgem model, and the Rgem model has big snows of 1 foot plus over Long Island, touching coastal New Jersey into south coastal Connecticut. Actually has slightly lesser amounts as you go north and west, although it still produces every bit of 7-8 inches or more. And when we look at the surface, it sort of tells the tale, because the Rgem blows this system up. I mean, it really explodes it. It's deeper when it moves through Virginia. It's already down to almost 990 millibars when it moves over Chesapeake Bay, and you can see the darker blues. Again, this would be 2 to 3 inches an hour. This is going to be very fast. 6 to 8 hours of accumulating snow, running at the rate of at least an inch an hour would give you 8 inches. So you're probably going to get some 2 and 3 inch an hour amounts, especially in these darker blues. And I wouldn't even be surprised to see some lightning and thunder. But both the NAM would indicate that because of the strong lift that we have, the strong vertical motion. And this is at 10 o'clock on Thursday morning. And heavy snows over Long Island, Connecticut, in through New Jersey, lighter snows as you start to go north and west. But again, it's because the model really wraps this up into a very, very tight little animal south of Montauk, east of Atlantic City at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Still snowing heavily on Long Island, starting to taper off back west of New York City, and that's at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So the Rgem actually has it lasting a little bit longer on Long Island, and then out it goes. And the Rgem is the Canadian model. It's the short-term model. The Canadian model does pretty much the same thing. It finally came around after days of not even showing anything, and now it suddenly shows this big storm. But the Canadian shows the low actually even further south. It goes out near Chesapeake Bay, southern tip of Chesapeake Bay near Wallops Island, and then moves east northeast and intensifies rapidly. The Canadian actually has the axis of the heavy snow further south than all the models. When we put up its 24-hour snowfall, when it's all said and done, it's this band of 8 to 10 inches. But you go up the Hudson Valley to about Route 84 would be the line of where 6 is, and everybody else gets a solid shot of 8 to 10. So why the difference is the Canadian and the GFS are actually reasonably close in some respects. The Canadian model, and I'm going to suspect that the European is going to do this too, is going to probably show a more intense low that forms. So I think that's where that comes from in terms of the extra snowfall on some of these models versus the others. And let me just back it up a little bit. I'm going to go a little wider. We'll look at the upper air, and you're going to have to take that view. Okay, and now we have the get the upper air up here for you. And here's the Canadian. So here's that trough. I mean, you can see how it's not lifting the whole thing up, but there's that short wave that's responsible for the actual surface low that lifts up northeastward. So you have this well-defined short wave on the Canadian model, and we'll go to the GFS. Probably going to have, they're all going to have pretty much a similar idea. So there you have it on the GFS. GFS, it's there, but it's a little less obvious, but it's the same. It's the same idea here. And the NAM. And the NAM, was maybe a little bit flatter than its prior run. That's not to say that it can't come in a little bit stronger on the next run. So why don't we widen out and look at the long-term pattern, because I think it could get very interesting when it's all said and done. We'll go to the GFS. We'll go to the wide North America view so we can look at the upper air. One of the things that's happening over time is that we're getting this blocking that's developing right up in there, and that is going to be a predominant feature going forward. So that trough lifts up, and you can see there's a blocking high just east of Greenland. So it kind of keeps everything in place. It's not an overly cold flow, but it's going to be one of these situations where the cold air is going to try to be around when these storms develop. And we have later next week some kind of system here in the east. You've got a ridge that goes up in the Rockies. You kind of want it a little further west than that, but there's that trough in the east, strengthens, and then it moves out, and then you get another one. And actually the other thing that's interesting here too, that we're going to have to watch in the longer term, is the fact that the Pacific jet is very active. You've got these weather systems coming in one after another, a parade of them. So, there's going to be opportunities probably going forward for more events. It's funny because I was having a conversation with somebody about the fact, a colleague of mine, that it's certainly this year we've seen nothing really in terms of storms coming out of the Gulf of Mexico, or at least coming across the south, and that seems to be a long-term situation that's developed, because I'm thinking back over the last period of years, there haven't been that many, but you're starting to see more action across the south here as we go through time. And here we go to later next week, and it actually does bring up a Gulf of Mexico low to the mid-Atlantic coast with some snow for next Friday. I don't know how real this is. The model's done this for several runs, so I'm guessing that there is some reality to this. And you notice that the cold air, there's some cold air that comes in later next week. Not a lot, but just enough, and that's really all it takes. Sometimes you don't have to be deep in the heart of an Arctic air mass in order for it to snow in the east. Meanwhile, in the west, we keep seeing these systems crash in one after another. And now, as we go later in the period, here's one that tries, the model at the moment has it this far north, but if we have blocking, this high pressure here to the north, in reality, that might wind up being further south as we get closer to time, to the time frame. So I think overall, in terms of the long term, we have a very, very interesting pattern that is setting up, and I think it's something that we're going to have to pay attention to. I should have pulled this up before I set it up, but I completely forgot. So I'm just going to pull up my website, and I will get the snowfall forecast map for you that I engineered. As soon as it decides to do that, naturally it's going to take forever. If you haven't been to my website, it's meteorologistjoechaffee.com, and of course now it doesn't want to load, so that's always fun. Let's try it again. I apologize. I should have set this up beforehand. I want to pull up. I did create a new snow forecast map, and let's see if I can bring it there. So this is what. Hello, where's my picture? There it is. Okay, so this is basically what I massaged my snow map to look like going forward, and I created a band of 8 inches up along the New Jersey coast, northeastern New Jersey, southernmost Connecticut, and Long Island, 8 inches or more, and a large band of 5 to 8 inches going back into southeastern Pennsylvania, up the Hudson Valley. Once you start getting north of Poughkeepsie, I started to lower the amounts. I mean, that's the tougher call here. If we wind up with the Rgem and the more of the Rgem Canadian type look, there is going to be a bit of a northern cutoff at some point. The NAM might suggest that maybe this 8-inch amount area would be pushed more northwest, and there'll be some questions regarding the coast, whether we'll get the 8 or maybe it'll be a little bit less. My own personal feeling on this is how this is going to come out. And the Rgem has this pretty aggressive snowfall that it shows. I don't know if I showed the Rgem snow map, if I did earlier, but let me just bring it up again. Let me just get that here, and we'll put up the tight view of the Northeast, and we'll get the Rgem snowfall. Now remember, because the Rgem does have this really wrapped up animal, I did show it before. Now I'm remembering. It's just been a long day. But you can see how the axis of the heavy snow is further east, because the model has a low deeper and further east, much like the Gem model. The two Canadian models had the axis of the heavy snow further east, while the American models tend to have the axis a little bit further to the west. And of course, I guess the European may break the tie, but the European won't be out for another 40 minutes, so we'll have to wait for morning, and I'll post about it on meteorologistjoechaffee.com. Thanks for being here. As always, my regular subscribers, and if you're new to this YouTube channel, welcome. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's absolutely free. You get notified of the videos when they're issued, and then you'll be right on top of the latest weather. Download my app and subscribe to my forecast for New York City, Long Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, and Hudson Valley, especially during snow situations like this. The app is free. The subscription is just $1 a month. Less than a cup of coffee, less than half a cup of coffee, and you'll be getting my forecast, and you get me writing, you get my opinions, satellite radars, and so on. You don't get some computer generated icon thing that basically it's the GFS going out to however many days now that some apps go out to. So everybody have a great Wednesday. I always lose track. Have a great Wednesday, and we will have another video up later today when the midday model cycle is complete.